Your wife has just recently asked for separation or divorce. In the days or weeks since, you've likely been feeling all sorts of emotions, from loneliness to sadness and even lots of stress. Suddenly things that were easy to you, such as eating regular meals and getting a good night's sleep, might not feel that way anymore. And while you're feeling like you're at your lowest point, somehow your wife looks like she's doing just fine. And this is probably doing a number on you. You can't make sense of how this person who you spent so many years with is feeling okay about the end of your relationship while you're just barely getting by. You might even be questioning, did they really love me or care for me? If they did, how are they doing totally fine right now with everything going on? In this video, we're going to be covering 4 eye-opening truths that men who are logic-focused and emotionally distant need to hear for why their wife might be feeling okay and calm while going through a separation or divorce. Before I go any further, if you're new to our channel, I just want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Mark, and I'm a 37-year-old husband and father with a CPA and MBA, very logic-focused and emotionally distant myself. And that's why I created Genuinely Reconnected, to help other logic-focused and emotionally distant men, just like myself, rebuild connection in their relationships. So, when it comes to why your wife might be feeling totally calm about separation and divorce, let me share the first reason using a model we at Genuinely Reconnected call the separation cycle. The separation cycle has 4 main phases to it. The first phase is shock and frustration. So this is the phase where someone is feeling totally thrown off and upset about what's going on in their relationship. The next phase is bargaining and what ifs, which is where a person starts potentially trying to negotiate with their partner or just their own head on what they could have done differently or could still do differently today to make their relationship or life work overall. After bargaining and what ifs comes the hurt and sadness phase, where a person starts to feel really down and emotionally wounded about their relationship and the state of it. And after a lot of time in the hurt and sadness phase, a person eventually reaches the acceptance phase, where they still might feel somewhat down about their relationship, but have come to terms with the new reality of their situation. Now, when it comes to the separation cycle, this is something both you and your wife will go through. But the major difference is where you are on the separation cycle and when each phase happened relative to where your wife is with regards to each phase of this cycle. And this is actually a major reason why your partner might feel okay compared to you. What I mean by this is although you might be going through the first phase of the separation cycle, shock and frustration right now, this is something your wife might have gone through a long time ago when she started really realizing your relationship isn't working out the way she thought it would. And from shock and frustration, she likely eventually moved on to the second phase around bargaining and what ifs. For her, bargaining and what ifs would have had 2 components to it. The first being her trying to do whatever she could to try and save the relationship. This might have looked like her bringing her concerns to you and her probably doing whatever she could do on her end to change things independently of you. The what ifs part for her could have looked like her wondering what she could have done differently in the past to have made your relationship better, or sometimes even wondering what her life would have looked like had she not decided to be with you to even begin with. Eventually, she probably got to a point where all her efforts seemed pointless, and she went into a state of just feeling very hurt and sad about her life and your relationship. And after probably months or even years of going through this sad and hurt phase, she probably came to some acceptance that the relationship just isn't going to work out. This is probably the point at which she realized, hey, there's nothing I can do unless my husband is willing to put in some effort on his end as well. And probably more or less just checked out of the relationship and what she hoped it could be. Keep in mind that these 4 phases aren't always so linear. There likely were points where your wife, and maybe even yourself right now, have fluctuated between the different phases of this separation cycle. Regardless, hopefully you're getting the bigger picture here overall. And that's that although your wife may have recently asked for separation and divorce, she's internally gone through the separation cycle well before you've gone through all 4 phases and has already come to a reasonable degree of acceptance around your relationship not being salvageable and her living a life on her own. When it comes to the 4 phases of the separation cycle, chances are if you're watching this video, you're probably still on phase 1 or 2. So once again, phase 1 being shock and frustration, and phase 2 being bargaining and what ifs. The what ifs, in most men's cases, being what they think they could have done differently to avoid their current situation. If we're speaking metaphorically and we're looking at a big mountain ahead of us, you're in a position where you're just starting that climb up the mountain, versus chances are your wife is already on the other side of the mountain and has done the hard part of the climb months or years ago into your relationship. And this idea that your wife is further along in the separation cycle than you leads to my second eye-opening truth as to why your wife might be calm about separation and divorce. Since they're likely further along than you in the cycle, and they've been feeling alone in the relationship for a number of months or years, chances are they've already built a much stronger community of friends and supports outside of the relationship than you have. As in, they've probably felt like they couldn't turn to you for support for months or years, and so they've already been turning to others and have a much stronger support system in place as a result. These are probably people who are probably in her corner, emotionally supporting her as she's going through anything that's coming up around the separation or divorce. It's even possible that your partner might have sought out other people in their friends and family circle who've gone through the process of divorce to help them go through it and have someone to relate to through it all. This might have also helped them normalize the process of separation or divorce as something they don't need to be afraid of. In fact, many women actually report feeling a sense of relief and freedom when they actually start the conversation around separation or divorce. This is usually because this has been a weight on their shoulders for many months or years, and they've finally been able to gather up the courage to move forward with it. In some cases, the idea of having moved forward with separation and divorce can even feel very empowering because it's a bold step that they have thought they'd never take or have had the courage to take before. It can feel like it's one of the first times in years that they've done something to put their needs first as opposed to yours. The third big reason why your wife might be okay with separation and divorce is around a bias that we as humans can tend to have, and that's the idea of commitment and consistency bias, which is a concept that was developed by a well-known social psychologist by the name of Robert Cialdini. In a nutshell, commitment and consistency bias says that we as humans feel a lot of internal pressure to align with past actions or statements we've made. So essentially, we feel a lot of pressure to be consistent. In Dr. Cialdini's famous book, Influence, he speaks about an example where when residents of a neighborhood were asked to put an ugly sign on their lawn that said, "Drive carefully" on it, 83% of people said no. But interestingly enough, with one particular group of residents, a staggering 76% said yes to the sign. What was unique about this group? Well, with this group, before they were approached to put up a big ugly sign that said "Drive carefully," someone had approached them 2 weeks earlier and had asked them if they were open to putting a small sign that said "Be a safe driver." Since it was such a small sign, pretty much all the residents had agreed to the original request. But because they'd agreed to the original request, when they were then asked to put up the bigger, uglier sign, 76% felt compelled to say yes because of commitment and consistency bias. So essentially, the pressure to be consistent in the face of others with their earlier statements and decisions. And this idea of commitment and consistency bias is everywhere, whether it be with regards to people defending their political parties for something they would attack the other side for doing, or business leaders doubling down on failed ideas that they'd once touted as groundbreaking ventures. So, bringing this back to relationships, commitment and consistency bias shows up in many different ways. The first being the idea of you and your partner making a commitment to each other when you got married and sharing that commitment with the world, which puts pressure on you staying together to try and make it work. But on the flip side, when one person decides to end a relationship and shares the decision as well as the challenges about their partner with others in their circle, it can feel very hard to in turn go back on that and return to the relationship due to the idea of commitment and consistency bias. No one likes the feeling of being judged by others for not staying committed and consistent with the thoughts and actions they've already put out there. I know when my relationship fell apart, my partner definitely felt this pressure to stay aligned with their decision, given she'd been the one to end things and had shared her frustrations about me with her friends and family. Likewise, I felt somewhat hypocritical trying to make things work with her afterwards as well, since I'd complained to a lot of people in my circle about her and how she'd ended things. So, despite a relationship being between two people, external forces along with the pressures and fears of being judged can play a big role on the path to reconciliation and how partners perceive each other. The last reason your partner might feel okay with separation and divorce is because of the other emotions that are involved in this process that can be layered over any emotions of sadness or loss. So, to some degree, your partner may feel sad about the relationship ending, but even more than that, they might be feeling emotions of anger and resentment towards you that supersede any other emotion. This would especially be the case if they feel like they put in years of effort to try and make their relationship work and they feel they haven't been heard. In some cases, they might also feel like through the separation and divorce process, really haven't changed much and have continued to be defensive, further validating their beliefs around separation and divorce being the right decision for them. Once again, It's not to say they probably don't feel some degree of sadness, but everything they've seen in front of them has made them feel more anger than sadness about the situation. Now, keep in mind, this doesn't mean this is how they're going to feel forever. It's just how they might be feeling in this moment. Very possible that over time, if your partner does see changes in you and they are able to get some breathing room, their feelings could change. If everything I've said in this video has resonated with you and you're someone who's serious about rebuilding your relationship with your wife, I want to invite you to check out the link in the description to join our relationship rebuild program, where not only do we equip you with what you need to rebuild your relationship, but also offer you the support and accountability of our community, so you don't have to walk this journey of growth and transformation alone. As a first step, you can book a free advisory call with someone on our team. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you can continue to receive more content from our end on how to genuinely restore connection in your marriage.